Is it coming through, sister?
Yes, it's there.
Okay.
Yes, it's there.
Oh, it's going all the wrong way, but anyway.
Just go
Okay.
back.
No,
It will just go back.
I don't know whether you are seeing the opening slide, which should be saying the title of today's webinar, which is socio-emotional arrivals and departures. Is that what's showing on your end?
Yes, it is the one.
Okay, good.
It's the one.
Yes, welcome, sisters. Thank you for welcoming us again to do some work together. CASAK, as you know, and Positive Psychology Association of Kenya have gotten together to do this series of webinars which are about positive aging. I think it is a very timely topic, always relevant, but in very good time. As usual, sisters, you are leading. It's good you cutting new ground. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I have to tell you, I prepared these slides in PowerPoint and now I am presenting them in Google Slides. They don't always respect each other, but still they will be okay. I mean, they'll not be as good as I would like, but they'll be okay. So we hope they follow the rules. Yeah.
If
Yes,
you are
sister.
patient, you can still get them in your PowerPoint.
Let us see. I would prefer that actually.
Lucy,
Let me see.
Lucy, come and help Daktari. Tell Daktari what to do.
Yeah, when I go to window, it doesn't show.
Anasema when she goes to window, it doesn't show. She wants.
But sister, let's work with what we've got. It's okay. It's not perfect, but nothing is perfect.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so last time we were talking about the cognitive dimension, as you remember. Today we will be talking about the socio-emotional dimensions of aging, or rather, just basically how do we, enhance the aging process and mindful of that dimension as well, right? So, as an introduction, we can remind ourselves that aging has the potential to be a wonderful experience, but it is a potential. We have to decide to engage with that potential, and I guess that's what we are trying to do in these conversations, to see how we could reach a more fruitful way of going through. But it is an active choice. It's a choice that we make, and we can make it at any age. So nobody needs to say they are late or it's too early, because some things have elements of continuity, as we said. Some things continue, but there is also discontinuity. Some things stop and we can take on new habits. And there are always limits, but surely there is always something we can do. So we'll be saying a bit of that over and over again, as we've been saying. On the socio-emotional dimension, many people improve. They don't just maintain, they even improve their well-being on the socio-emotional dimension as they grow older. But how do they do that? Some of them improve their social engagement, and maybe going by the wisdom or the experience of living life, they may adapt better to the realities. Of course, others may struggle. Yeah. So this is what we want to see. What is this? How can that be maximized? I'm hoping, like we did last time, maybe a little bit more than we did last time, that we can engage in the chat box, and that, sister, you would help me. I will raise a number of questions for you to engage with, and then you can read the answers. Hopefully we get a few. Okay. Now I want to ask you, how do you see aging? And I am not asking you to write in the chat box. I would like to ask you to write just one sentence or two for yourself. Yeah. If I was using PowerPoint, the quote would not be showing so quickly. But the quote, you can ignore it for now. The question is, how do you see aging? How do you see aging? If you are to be told to give a sentence about aging, and be very honest with yourself, because nobody's coming to check. See is put in quotes. So see could be feel about or think about. It's not just observing people who are aging. It could also be the fact that you are close to what might be called aging. Maybe you are in your 60s, going on 65. It is the beginning of what we call formerly old age. How are you viewing it? How do you see it? And Anais Nin is, I don't know whether that's the way you pronounce the name, says, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. So how we see aging, maybe more about us, about yourself, about... and so we want to see that influences how we approach it, either as people working with older people, but especially as we all hopefully get that privilege of aging as we age. So watch your sentence as you go along and see how it fits. Now, what might be called, I want to say to you that I am sharing with you, most of the thoughts I'm sharing with you are coming from positive psychology scholars. And I decided to make this a kind of informal sharing, so it's not going to have a lot of scholarly quotations, but pretty much everything is from scientific study. So a lot of it would be coming from the positive psychology website, and you would be able to go and confirm and cross-check and read more deeply if you would like. Okay. Now, conventional views, or maybe traditional views, traditional in the sense of the world, not traditional Africa, have tended to look at aging as the diminishment. And so we say that if you are aging well, you are not diminishing so fast. Yeah? Your physical health is good. You don't have illness. You are even continuing to be productive. And, the scholars are saying this view can be a little bit intimidating because it's not the truth for most people. In fact, it may be more, it may raise unrealistic expectations. So you find that your health is giving way, or you find that you are less productive than you used to be. Then you say, I'm not aging right. You feel a little bit out. Actually, according to the scholars, they say this definition or this way of looking at a successful aging would be excluding most people. Most people find that they may have some health challenges. Most people find that, they may not be continuing at the same pace of productivity. This kind of view then can also make us feel that we are inadequate, we don't fit the mold, etc. And they are proposing perhaps there is another way to look at aging, successful aging. Because, as you say, if the society imposes on us, that aging is only about decline, it's about frailty, irrelevance, becoming irrelevant. Maybe in your sentence you can see some of those things. Negative beliefs, they can also perpetuate stereotypes, some stereotypes. When we are older and we internalize, or our older people internalize that way of thinking, that it is, I don't fit the mold, I'm losing my health, I'm becoming irrelevant. Huh? They might start excluding their own selves, actually, even before we exclude them. But also, as we work with them, or live with them in the community, we may find that we are saying, well, she's too old or he's too old to be doing this. But more importantly, especially the first person, yourself, the subjective perspective. If we exclude ourselves from opportunities, because we are afraid we are not going to perform as well as others, or we are ashamed, have a diminished sense of worth. Yeah. And those are the negative kinds of consequences. So we want to see, is there an alternative? Is it possible to think about aging differently? And of course it is. Positive aging definitions, by contrast, they will highlight the positive things that come in with it. Yeah? Growth. That growth does not stop, it continues. It's like there are still horizons for older people. Hatujafika mwisho, we are not at the end. Okay? Yeah, that they will highlight wisdom, and that you can actually make a contribution, that the older person is able to make a contribution. So we shift the narrative to the richness that older people bring to the world in which they are engaged, in which they live. Review of their own life produces a lot of stuff to learn from. So this kind of perspective, this kind of positive perspective, which I will be stressing for a little while, emphasizes inclusivity. I may not be as healthy as I used to be physically, or I may move slower than I used to, but I am still aging positively. I can find some positive things. It also emphasizes resilience, and we shall talk a little bit more deeply about resilience and emotional growth and how to adapt, etc. So this is what it emphasizes. Nobody needs to be left out, and everybody has a chance to actually make of this stage of our life a new opportunity or a new season for growth. So it fosters, as we said, resilience, and it can help counter some of the challenges. The challenges are not to be denied, but we have to adapt to them, and see how to make the best of the situation, which is what actually we do in every age. If you think about it, we make the best of the situation. There is no situation that is perfect. So positive and inclusive perspective on aging would be saying to us that there is a lot to celebrate while we are aging. It's quite a shift in focus. Rather than to be afraid, it is a time to celebrate. What are we celebrating? It offers opportunities for a review of a rich and resourceful life. Yeah, in one way or another. We are not saying that we sit in a corner and start looking at kind of but there are so many opportunities to look back on what we bring with us, some of which we spoke about in the cognitive conversations, that we are able to mine our life experience sometimes to bring creativity into, to share our element and contribute to creativity. Positive and inclusive perspectives on aging will be saying that aging is about resilience and ongoing development. As we said, even Erickson and his wife Joanne, by the time they grew beyond that eighth stage, the eighth stage, they realized it is not an end. It's not like the last stage. We can move beyond it. They talk about the ninth stage. And they say also that there used to be that kind of sense that if you did life right, so to speak, and you integrated and you did well all the other stages, now at the eighth stage, it is the point of integration. It's the point of kind of reaping the fruits. But if you didn't do it right, then it is the moment of despair. And by the time he comes to die, Erickson is actually revising that and saying nobody is actually doomed or damned by their past. We are able to, in every stage of our life, there is opportunity for transformation, for renewal, perhaps some more than others, but certainly there is still horizons. It is a time of adaptation to new realities, informed by the wisdom, yeah, And we talked about wisdom in a little bit more depth last time. And I also add here serene acceptance. I want to think about wisdom as more on the cognitive level. It is not, as you know, limited to the cognitive level. But that serene acceptance, sometimes that people are not necessarily putting things into words or thesis or major treatises, but they have an acceptance that kind of that wisdom that is beyond even the cognitive level, and that enables deeper levels of adaptation and deeper levels of peace and serenity. So I want to invite us to a chat box activity, but it will be built on watching a little clip, a little video here of a woman talking about aging. So what your question is as you watch, it's very short, so you better pay attention. It will be over very quickly. What is you are learning from her? What are you learning from her? Or what would you respond to her? You may not agree with everything she says, but what are you learning from her? What would you respond to her? So let's see this. I have to stop sharing this. And then share something else. Share. Yes. Sister, let me know if the screen is showing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is showing.
Yeah, as I said, it's very brief, so let's pay attention. This lady called Ximena Abogabir. She's from Chile. Even her own pronunciation of her name is quite different from what we might say.
Xavier is a co-founder of a Chilean organization dedicated to changing attitudes about aging. Tonight, she shares her brief but spectacular take on empowering people to live their best lives.
We used to think of life in a linear way. A child is born and you stimulate so that he's brilliant. All this with the idea or the purpose to have a good job. And then you have a third stage where you rest. That's absolutely nonsense. My name is Jimena Bogaví. I'm very proud to say I'm 76 and I come from Santiago de Chile. I am a prototype of a linear life. I had been 35 years working in a foundation, and then came my birthday number 70. I knew I had wrinkles, I know my hair was white, but what had changed was the way people were looking at me, and I didn't like it because they were all trying to protect me, imagining that I was going to fall or that I couldn't learn. And I said, well, that's funny. I mean, what's the matter with all of them? I'm the same. And I started talking to other friends, and they all said, hey, that's the same thing that happens to me. We say that being a woman and old is a double discrimination because women have so many stereotypes about how you should be and how you to find Travesía 100, which means the journey to 100. And the purpose was changing the mindset about the way we were looking at age. Age as an opportunity and not as a problem. When I speak to groups of people, they always start nodding because what I say is so obvious. We have now 4,000 or more volunteers. What we decided to do, first of all, was empower older people. Because some people retire and say, that's it. Those people tend to sit and get depressed. This is a moment to be yourself. It's a moment to do whatever you thought you were born to do. One of the things we've done with companies is help them understand who are their new older clients, what we call silver economy. If you don't understand silver economy, you will probably try to serve older people with the stereotype you have in your mind as older people that are waiting to die, and that's it, which is not true. You're missing the point. People like me certainly were not young, but we are not elders. There's a sort of new generation in the middle. The other things we do is work with private companies to retain older people that are in their workforce so that they don't leave. Because if they leave, you will probably miss a lot of knowledge and experience they have. Some people attend our workshops and start studying a new career or join an NGO. What really energizes you? What makes you wake up in the morning with enthusiasm? Say, I have something to do. This is a wonderful period of time. How can I give back what I have received? What can I contribute to society now? And that's a very powerful message to be alive. My name is Jimena Ogavi Scott, and this is a brief but spectacular take of the journey to 100.
You can watch all of the stories in our brief but spectacular series on aging online at pbs.org/newshour/longevity.
Okay, I hope that you were able to catch a few things. Obviously, she's speaking in another cultural setup, but the background is that the society is, we are living much longer. And so she is even saying we are not elders. Mind you, she is from a Spanish-speaking country, so some of the words may, or I would imagine that if you are 70, you are an elder, even if you're going to live to 100. But nevertheless, that is, what did you pick up? What did you pick up from her? I hope that you can write a few things from the chat box. In the chat box, what you picked up from this little video. Sister, if anything is coming through, I'll be grateful that you read it.
Okay. Please write on the chat so that we can read what you have gotten from the clip.
Including the questions you may have. We don't have to make it all questions or disagreements we have with her, surprises, where you agree with her.
Yes, someone is saying, how can we get the notes of aging? You'll get them. Another person is asking, not really asking, but it's a comment. I appreciate the 3 approaches in health. What do you say about those in later years? That's old, but believe so much in the herbal medicine.
Sorry, did you say somebody is asking about herbal medicine?
That is the previous. That feeling of I have not changed is mine. Is mine too, even though I'm not 60, but getting there. That's one person.
Yes, I can see that, Father Selvam.
I'm getting there.
Yes, she's 76, mind you, and she still thinks she hasn't changed. And Father Selvam, you're almost 60 and you haven't changed. Okay, that is good.
Yeah, which means they're aging well.
Yeah, it can also mean, remember, sister, we were saying that sometimes maybe we are so used to adapting. I'm thinking about Father Selvam, knowing you a little bit further, that we are so used to adapting that when we have to adapt, it is normal for us. But some people have lived in one place or doing one job for years and years, and suddenly life is changing. And of course, that's big. It can be work or it can be the station of life. Like parents, when children go, you have had the same children all the time. Father Selvam, I see you have opened your camera. You might like to say something. Sisters, please interact. We need your input.
Yes. You know, this is very interesting. You like you have reached that age, but you seem not to change. And from what the few things that you have talked about, it's a very interesting thing to know that how does someone look at aging? You look at the other person and you look at yourself and you want to say, am I celebrating aging? Yes, you could be celebrating aging because of the life experience, what you have just mentioned. So I think if people can look at it that way, I think it will be something very good to discuss and to share. It will be very interesting.
Yes, it would be. And you will have the link in the notes when they come to you. You can watch. And but as they said, there are many short episodes there are very many short episodes on aging in that particular program, and some are really quite interesting. So this is just one that I picked. Okay, I'll move on.
There's somebody who has said, Muko says she has, from the clip, she says she has a lot of concerns of what others think than what is right or best for her. Meaning, she has already stereotyped herself.
Okay. Yes.
Which is okay.
Actually, yeah. It may or may not be true. The point is, you have just seen this once, so I have to be, it's gone quickly. And as I told you, she was a little bit. She reacted very fast to being considered senior, and people extended help towards her, and she kind of resisted because she didn't want to be considered to be old. Those are pieces that we may not perhaps agree with her. We may agree depending on your culture or your expectations.
You look at Beatrice, Dr. Sister Agnes says that aging is not a weakness, it's not incapacity. The society may see an aging person as such, but the individual has the sole responsibility of giving his or herself life meaning by being assertive, challenged to assist the aged around me, including my 76-year-old mother, to find new ways of generating new energy for each day. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, that is okay. We can continue.
Okay. Yeah. So I found, as I said before, sometimes it's for those of us who care for older people. I have an aging mother as well, as you, Sister Agnes, and sometimes I would be helping her, and she'd laugh like, I'm not that old, I don't need to be supported. And then when I let her do her things, she said, why are you not supporting me? So it's kind of like ping pong a little bit. But nevertheless, this lady also says that being a woman, and that the experience of the world for women, for especially perhaps maybe lay women, but women in general, people still have these competitions of looks, and there's an expectation that you look a certain way. And so she feels double discrimination. As you grow older and you are a woman, you have to struggle on more than one front to kind of not be left out or not be kind of considered out, not to fit at all. Yeah? Okay. Anyway, according to many scholars, and according to a very nice long video, again, which you will see here, aging can be challenging, of course, but the attitude we bring to it can make all the difference. It's the attitude we bring to it that can make all the difference. So this lady, she started, and together with others, an organization about aging, like towards the 100 years, what life can be like during that last quarter, if you like, or the last 25 years or so of life. In our country, perhaps the focus is not yet on older people because we have a very young population. But those that are aging still need care, still need an attitude shift which is helpful. Sorry, this slide is looking very crowded, but it's just underscoring attitude. The attitude is the premium that you bring to your aging as a person. Yeah. It is, if you have a positive attitude, it will foster resilience. It will foster stress management. it will foster a reduction of the risk of depression. But if on the other hand, you have a negative attitude, it is likely to lead you to behave in ways that put you in isolation. You will have a diminished, perhaps, sense of purpose because you are looking at. So attitude influences everything, everything in life. Of course, aging being one. So a shift in attitude towards a better position can be very helpful. Adapting a positive attitude can enhance the quality of our own life or the lives of the people we are working with. Because again, if we have a negative attitude to old aging, and we are taking care of older people, we can turn them into almost objects, over invade their space, take away their agency. But as much as possible, people do need to keep their agency, and that came through quite strongly in the comment that Sister Agnes made right there. Yeah. In the article that Father Selvam asked us to read ahead of this, or shared with us, which you can still read in his website, says, the social and emotional front is about our relation quite a lot. Our relations first with ourselves, but with people. So our relation with people. As we grow older, how are we relating with people? And people are important because they are very much part of the fabric of our lives. They can be a great resource. They can be a great source of support and pain, but they can also be a great source of pain, depending on how we embrace this. So we are entering now more specifically the socio-emotional front. And the question is how we relate with ourselves and with other people. And what attitude we bring to it, and embracing this, the socio-emotional aging process, because as we age all around. So the socio-emotional dimension is also going to be affected by the fact that we are aging. And so our socio-emotional journey, if we bring optimism to it, if we bring intentionality, that it's not just happening to us, but we are engaged with it. Yeah? That's a very major shift. It sounds like just a sentence, but it's a major shift to say, I am engaged with it. What will I do with it? So I am intentional about it. So this mindset of being intentional, being optimistic, it prioritizes growth, emotional growth, spiritual growth, social growth, alongside cognitive health and physical well-being, like we were saying, exercise, etc. And it emphasizes that aging is not merely surviving, it's about thriving. We can thrive in our old age, despite the challenges, and that's what we are looking for. Okay, another chat box activity. I'm getting shy about chat box activities because I didn't see you very spontaneous there, but I ask you to, I know that the video may not have been very good, so I'm hoping for many more answers this time. Name a socio-emotional challenge that is faced by older adults. Maybe yourself. A socio-emotional challenge. Maybe the very fact that you can't meet people as much as you used to could be a challenge for somebody. You are not as mobile, therefore you are not able to go meet people. But what kind of challenges are there at the social and emotional level for older adults? This one doesn't need a sentence. It can be a phrase, a few words. Sister.
Yes, Beatrice.
Yeah, if anything comes, let's see.
Not yet. I'm waiting to see the chat.
Think of at least one challenge.
Anger about frailty. Edith says anger about frailty because she feels like she's weak, she can't do what she has been doing, and that one brings anger in herself. That is true. Some people get sad. Mary Agnes says solitude and sense of being excluded.
Loneliness, right?
Yeah, because
so
now you lose many friends and you are alone. Therefore, you are left alone in isolation. Somewhat
yes,
say depression and anxiety, which can come because of loneliness. Very true. In solitude, you can get that depression and anxiety. I'm waiting for more people to tell me something. Yeah,
yes,
Helen says, as an elderly person, I'm on that pinch. Ping pong, I get a bit irritated when people rush to help me with tasks I can do for myself. And again, irritated when they don't help. Maybe I need to be more I need to be more intentional with the signals I send. Because
interesting.
you want help at the same time you don't want help. Because when they come
Interesting.
to help you, you think now they have seen me, I'm very old, I can't do this. And when they don't come to help, then you are also very sad. So she's saying she should be very clear about her signals. Which signal does she bring out when she needs help? So another one, Edith still says there is disconnection from peers. That is spatial challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
That is,
Yes. Yeah. If I
yes,
can just make a comment or two on some of those.
yes,
Yes,
despair.
I'm very charmed by the sister who says that you will be more intentional. First of all, your level of self-awareness is wonderful.
Feeling of
That's
being
very
secluded.
sister. Can I speak now?
Just wait there. I'm getting more to share. The way it's there, it's from the YouTube. We have some people on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the life is lived will be the outcome possibly. Aging does not mean one is totally useless in a society. They remain our history to rely on for past information. Then there's one who has said, happy to be here. Thanks. Another says, competition in relationship with those young ones. Nathan says, autonomy. So, autonomy, whether you feel like you have your own or it has been denied. There's somebody more consciousness about health, limiting utterances, transportation and difficulties. There are people talking of decline of mobility, reduced participation in community activities. Yeah, we can continue as they bring in. Thank you. Beatrice,
Okay.
continue.
Thank you very much. So,
Yeah.
thank you, sister. Thank you for the engagement. As you can see, you have the experience, and yeah, I didn't expect to hear a competition, but it's interesting, yeah, because we are used to being part of everything going on, and suddenly we are no longer able to keep pace,
Yeah.
and perhaps it's read like we are no longer too relevant, etc. I wanted to comment on the loss of friends. Sometimes the loss may be because of distance, but sometimes the loss is because of death. As people get older, their peers are passing on, and that must also be a little bit, bring new challenges. It's a real people die at every age, but obviously at the older ages, that is quite a reality. We are not used to talking too much about it, but it must bring a new dimension to, and the nearness of death then becomes very imminent for the person. I was commending sister who said that you are so self-aware that and you get irritated when we give you help, and you're irritated when we don't help. And what I like best is what you say, that you will be sending clearer signals. So you are reclaiming more and more your agency, and that is wonderful. Obviously, everybody can only be themselves, but everybody to reclaim their energy, their agency as much as they can, so that we help each other. Many of the people who need to help you have never been your age. I mean, pretty much. So sometimes they have no idea what it is that you're going through. And so it's good that you communicate a little bit more clearly. So send clearer signals. Back to the chat box, I have another question, one more question on this. The question is, what about the positive socio-emotional experiences that are unique to older adults? This one is, are there some socio-emotional experiences that are unlikely to be with younger people, but older adults have them? Positive ones. We have looked at the challenging ones.
The positive ones should be flowing in, because already we have talked of celebrating life experience. It's a positive thing. You should be very proud of it. The achievements you have had in life, all the years you have worked, that's something to feel proud of. There's a resilience. There's resilience in you. It is something good, because the inside energy, it has helped you to move on. You should look at that as a positive thing. That's how I like it, Beatrice. Yes,
Okay.
somebody says yes. Less pressure about issues.
Great.
Yes. Less pressure about issues.
Or less pressure. Okay. Thank you.
Pressure, yeah. You don't mind so much about many things around you, so there's no pressure that really put you
I see.
out or on your toes, so you are relaxed. Being friendly to young ones because they want to learn from you, lovely, that's a nice one. Gratitude, successful work, and family legacy. What are you leaving behind for your people? A legacy that people think about you, and every time they talk about you. Lovely. That's nice. Yeah, people are celebrating life.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Shall we continue?
There's somebody who says strong social connection, enjoy when sharing the experiences. My mom is 84 years, gets a lot of privileges. Yesterday, I was with her in a car, and the city council parking staff told her not to pay because of her. You see, that's lovely.
Wow.
Privileges that have been part of so many. Positive. Willing to mentor others. Something that's very good. Mentorship. Availability to the community since weighty responsibilities are minimal. You are available. The responsibility that used to keep you away from the community have been lessened. So you are available. That's good. Lovely. A sense of purpose and fulfillment. You feel you have a sense of purpose to live, and you have been fulfilled in the what you have been doing. Achievements. That's lovely. That's good. Let's continue, Beatrice. There's somebody who says that I'm able to to support rather pressure of leadership. Then there's somebody says a role model to the young ones of what you have done, the legacy you're leaving behind. You are a role model.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is very rich sharing. And perhaps we don't often ask ourselves those questions, but we begin to find there is so much, as you are saying, sister, to celebrate. Yeah? And it is related to others, and that now we can still do the good things we used to do without the pressure of responsibility. Very, very, very nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. Somebody spoke about loneliness. Yeah. Loneliness is one of course, the significant challenges for older people. We had it mentioned in different words here and there, and it can be a result of being disengaged, or being left alone too much, or not people not knowing when they should leave you alone, as Sister was saying, or people, they'd like to be there, but they're not able to be there with you. And of course, we do have the need for social connections. We have that as people in every age. Of course, if we are able to keep nurturing relationships with family, friends, and the relevant community groups, that's wonderful. It's helpful for emotional and physical well-being. But not all disengagement is negative. Sometimes it can be positive or it can be negative. Sometimes withdrawal, I think Father Selvam spoke about this in the first day, withdrawal and introspection are not always signs of being unhappy or of having dementia. Older people may choose to withdraw a little bit, to be less engaged on the social level. So how, as caregivers, or even as ourselves, because we have to take care of ourselves, and also when we are taking care of others, how do we differentiate between positive and negative disengagement? Because disengagement does begin to come. Some of it is coming because people are moving on. Our mobility is not there. Some we are choosing, some we are not. How to make the options and choices for positive disengagement? When should I choose to disengage? So just a few indicators are here. One of the differentiations is the whole idea of choice. Frequently, when we are not able to choose, it's that we end up being alone without wanting it, without making peace with it. It is involuntary. We may really feel very, very lonely. But some people actually choose to be alone a little bit more as they grow older. They are withdrawn. For example, somebody may find that they have great difficulty hearing and couldn't be bothered with hearing aids, or even with hearing aids it's still a bother. And they choose that they are happy to be a little bit by themselves because it's too much pressure. So you make peace with that. So the volition element sometimes is what differentiates between being lonely or being positively disengaged. That's one of the indicators that we are actually accepting or even choosing it. The second thing is the emotional state into which it puts us. If we are alone and it puts us and we are contented and we have generally good emotional stability, it may be a positive disengagement. Yeah, it may be an indicator. Otherwise, on the other hand, somebody may be very sad. Some of you spoke about sadness, longing for people, feeling forgotten, distressed. Of course, that puts us in a negative emotional state. And the impact on general health, mental health, and as well as other health indicators. Normally, when we are in positive disengagement, normally we are okay. Sometimes, for some people, it can even improve our mental health. Yeah? We are quite happy to go with things at our own pace, and it gives us opportunity for doing certain things our way, and we engage when we want. So it's not like we are forced to a corner. On the other hand, for some people, it can produce depression. If we are not engaging with others, it can produce cognitive decline because, engagement with others helps us to keep on using our mind, exercise our brain, in being challenged by others who think differently. So unless we are reading and writing and engaging in different ways, that can actually spiral our cognitive faculties down, okay? And in terms of groups, there has been observed that when people are lonely, when people suffer loneliness, there's higher levels of mortality in those groups of people. Of course, our perception of the experience, the social perception of the experience. Are we satisfied with fewer relationships? Some people just are satisfied. Some people actually are being older. They are no longer too interested in relationships that are not meaningful. When we are younger, we may like to have many friends, the more the merrier. But as we get older, we want to spare our energy. And we are quite happy. We are satisfied with fewer, but perhaps more meaningful relationships. So it's a positive disengagement with meaningless relationships or less meaningful relationships, maybe a kind of way to put it. Whereas it could be loneliness if we are feeling lack of meaningful connection. And finally, behavior. Sometimes people are in cognitive, in positive social disengagement because they have a purpose related to it. They want to seek solitude, or they want to avoid unnecessary conflict, and that's a choice they are able to make at their age. Whereas someone else may be feeling they would prefer to have more interaction, but yeah, it's not coming, etc. So you can see it's more like the fruits, a little bit like that statement of Jesus: by their fruits you will tell what's happening, what is it producing, and then we know how to kind of work with it. Okay. Sorry, my titles again are beginning to be troublesome. So when it is voluntary, and we are able to adapt and all this slide is not actually adding too much, so you need not to worry about what you can't see. We have the results of, maybe solitary engagement with our activities that we like. We are great. We are joyful. We are not distressed. Yeah? So again, I want to ask you whether you are familiar with this experience of positive disengagement, either yourself or someone else. In the chat box, just, have you seen someone or yourself chosen an opportunity of positive disengagement? Made that choice, or seen, now looking back on a member of your community, see, they actually made a choice for positive. I think, again, at the first session, we had Father Selvam share with us about his confrere who had chosen positive disengagement, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Do you have some experiences, and what lessons can we learn from that one that you have? I'm keeping you awake because I know your lunch is still pulling you down. Later on, I will push you faster. Keeping you talking.
Beatrice, positive disengagement can bring a lot of peace and serenity. When you have achieved what you have done, and when you are a role model, you have left your legacy, it's a very fulfilling thing, because it helps you also to grow in the spirituality, also grows because you deepen your understanding with God.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. What kind of choice of positive disengagement how would that express itself? That's what the first part of that question is asking. Is it that you go less to football matches? What is it that you're doing that is a positive disengagement, that is voluntary? Have you observed real people doing that? I know in theory that may be less of which kinds of activity? Friends, can we have your input? What are you familiar with? What have you seen? What have you done? Oh my.
There are sleep, not engaging on gossiping and other minor criticism that don't matter. That is what Veronica is telling us in the ritual.
Very interesting. Yes,
she says
people
not engaging in gossiping.
Yeah.
Not other criticism. Yeah, because every time we have a lot of criticism around us. So you find you have got very less or minor criticism that don't matter.
Very interesting.
That is true. Let's get information. Let's get people sharing. Let's get people sharing on this. Positive. We are talking of positive disengagement.
It's okay, sister. We can go on and still read a little later. It's okay?
Yes, that's fine. Let's continue.
Okay. Thank you. So positive disengagement can give you a different quality of engagement rather than becoming disengagement person. It can become a different kind of quality of engagement in the society and in the community. And what kinds of engagement? As someone said there, you can see at the point number 2, increase autonomy and independence. Now you're doing things your way and you're having a great time. That's a different kind of engagement. You're spending more time reading than you ever have because you have been the head of a school or a teacher and you had to read stuff that was related to what you had to teach. Now you are a bit more time and you are reading what you want or you are writing what you know. That is a powerful kind of engagement. And as you say, you can safeguard your legacy that way by writing stuff, reflections. Preservation of energy and resources. Yeah, and as you said, it gives you have reduced stress. And friends, I'm thinking in a community. Let's think of a community of 5 people. If 3 people have a high level of stress, more people have a high level of stress, then the whole community is more stressed, right? So even being in reduced stress serves not just you but the community. We create a more peaceful society, a society more able to receive what's coming at us, to be able to give a positive regard for the realities we are dealing with, to go to mission perhaps with a better disposition, better adaptability. Sometimes our positive disengagement is about choosing where we want to invest our energy. So we are not going to be in this, that, and the other because we have reduced energy, but we are going to invest it in something important. We don't have much energy as we used to have. But now we are choosing where we put it. I like to spend more time with my children. So I'm not going to be, in this, that, and the other. I would like to spend more time with the members of my community and therefore, or with the younger people in my community. So I'm not available for the larger parish activities. Those kinds of choices that you're making, so they are value-based choices. We are selecting. It is a different kind of engagement. It is a positive disengagement. The opportunity, as Sister has been saying, of reflection and inner growth, increasing that. Enjoying and cultivating a sense of wonder. That's related to number 4, actually. Yeah, some of us say, we are so busy, we don't even see the beauty in the world around us. When you are older, you can engage with that much more. We can watch children. We can watch, really see the wonder of how children are, managing the stresses of their lives, given that we put them in high gear. But somehow they still manage to cut off a little bit of space and play. They are still looking for this, that, and the other. I have a child who lives in the compound where I live, and he managed to get out of school and go to swim in the river. Never mind that it is crocodile infested, not all the time, but still, I mean, I think it's a big risk, and we have to stop him. But just to be able to see that this is not just something to be scared about. And when I had young children, I would be going crazy about it. I don't want that to happen. But I'm also seeing the beauty in that this child actually sees that life should be about much more than just sitting in class and going through things. It may be flowers, it may be bees, it may be whatever. Yeah, older people, you can choose and really have a sense of wonder at what's going on around you. Yeah? If older people sometimes travel, like in other countries, I've heard of people. Now we are older, we have more time to travel, we don't have to work, and when you travel, you may see so much more. Sometimes the people say you go for a conference in another country and you just don't see anything because you're all stuck in the conference. You might as well have done it online. But if you travel as an older person and put in a little bit more time, there is time to appreciate other things. Of course, consolidation of one's work and preparing for the end of life concerns. Number 7, I know is not our kind of thing. We don't tend to think about it. But it is a reality. And again, it hits me quite a bit nowadays as I watch my mother aging and the reaction she has when somebody dies. She says, and she keeps on telling us, one day when this happens, and we are kind of, oh, no, don't talk about that. But I don't know whether, we keep saying, Mom, I could even die before you, and that's true. But It can happen. I mean, it happens that older people, after a certain age, they pass on. The normal thing might be expected that I would live longer than her. It's not granted. But the point is, at the end of the day, everyone is, especially older people, we are more clear that we are preparing for the end. And giving it a bit of time and appreciation and again wonder isn't such a bad thing. It's respecting the reality of it's going on there. Let's not ignore it. Let's work with it. How do we assess for ourselves, but especially for when we are caring for others, that their disengagement, is it positive or is it negative? Should we be concerned or should we let them be? Yeah. And one of the things the sister said, I should send clearer signals. And if you are on the caregiving end, you can ask. You can ask how is the person doing? Inquire how they feel. Yeah. But then really listen. Sometimes people will always say, oh, I'm okay, but they're expressing I'm okay, but there's a lot of but. Okay. So listen a little bit more deeply, understand, hear the lines of distress, hear the lines of contentment, and see, have a sense of, are they okay? Are they feeling, abandoned or what? So if they're contented, they may be in positive disengagement and we need not worry. Or if they are in a lot of distress, it may suggest that they are lonely. And we may need to see what might you like for us to do? So one is to ask questions. The other is to observe behavior. When people are in positive disengagement, they are marked by purposefulness, a sense of solitude, which is different from loneliness. It's joyful. And the way they are interacting is they'll not be disengaged completely from everything and everybody. They are more likely to engage selectively. And so that's not a bad thing necessarily. Yeah. While loneliness may put people in a different kind of space. Of course, also monitoring their health and their mood, because if their disengagement is leading them to a place where they're happier, they're doing well, there are more positive outcomes. It may be actually positive disengagement. It's likely to be. Whereas if they're lonely, they'll be in horrible mood. Yeah, they lose their temper. I mean, maybe we need to see where else can we put them. What might help their situation, especially, and again in collaboration with them, right? So being grounded in ourselves helps, as Alexandra L. says. Keep that in mind as you journey. Be grounded in yourself, in your truth. And Erickson says it's one of the fruits of all the, integration, a kind of acceptance of what has been or what is, and seeing, what can we live with now? I am not happy in this situation. I'm grounded in that truth. Now, what can we do with it? Rather than I should be happy, which is a kind of a self-harassment. I should be contented. Nobody else, other people don't crave this. Sometimes we put ourselves in a guilty space where I should be happy. Why am I complaining? But if you're not happy, be grounded in yourself and your truth and talk about it. See the support you can get. Or, and I think that makes sense, I hope, to everybody, right?
Dr. Beatrice?
Yes?
Can we have a break of 5 minutes?
5? 5 is not too short?
5.
Is it not too short? You don't want 10?
It is too short. Oh, you want us to give 10 so that they go through it. 10.
They go catch a cup of tea and come back with it.
Okay, so that we are coming back at 4:20.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
I can read what people have written here as we were going on.
Okay.
Someone says spending time in nature and engaging in physical and exercise, that is positive disengagement. I decided not to renew my contract, and many people were disappointed, saying there is still so much I can offer. After much discernment, I still decided to let go of being in the limelight. I felt a bit lost for a few weeks, but thereafter, I realized It was good for the organization as young sisters were able to take over. I learned to embrace new ways, looking at other people, approach to issues. It also helped me deal with my own identity without my ministry. I began a new journey of self discovery, and at the moment, I'm so fulfilled in being than doing. Then someone
Wow.
says, practical and practice emotional regulation, the ability to stay calm and resilient during emotional challenges shows the power of patience, reflection, and self control. Lovely.
Wonderful. So those are beautiful things, and I can see why perhaps it was hard to get responses very quickly. There's a deeper reflection there. Christine, I'm really charmed by what you have to share there. And
Really.
I like that you also recognize that if you let go early enough, you are going to be able to enjoy seeing what others do with the same work you used to do. They come at it differently, and you can actually enjoy it. That has happened to me recently, and it's actually quite a powerful and a wonderful experience. Sometimes we hold on to a position so long, by the time we retire, we don't have the strength or the ability to appreciate different perspectives that other people bring. So, yeah, thank you very much. Wonderful sharing there. Okay, yes, sister, let's take the 10 minutes from now. Sawa sawa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Asante.
Hello, sasa kazi ningu ananiambia hukuenda kumfixia hapo kanini na sasa wifi yake ifanye. Alikuwa anataka tu hapo kanini kakufinyilia na umwekee. Akimtumia mtu juu sasa tangu juzi hajakuwa na wifi. Okay. Na umpigie juu anasema ushiki simu zake. Mpigi. Sijui. Wewe mpigie. Okay.
Yes, come in. Yes.
Mi sitaki hizo vitu, ina cause indigestion. Already na suffer na nakunywa soda. Sitaki. Upipo au kukula mingi. Sitaki, mimi nimeshiba.
Hiyo umeiweka
Hao wanafunzi wako sisi.
Hii iko na mafuta.
Ni mnaongea na mmeunmute. Nimepita time mama. Si ilikuwa 16:11. Mbona we are watching from Rwanda?
Sawa. Welcome everybody. Welcome. Doctor,
Okay,
can we continue? Yes.
Yes, sure.
Let's continue.
So, just to remind ourselves, the elements of well-being, I'm just using one of the models. These were presented in the first lecture of the first session. Just using one of the simpler ones, the elements of well-being, according to positive psychology, are positive emotions, feeling good about ourselves. Yeah, feeling good about ourselves. Engagement, finding flow, finding, that things are, they are meaningful, they have energy, they are interesting, they are not boring, but they are, they are taking out of us what they need to take, and we are getting the feedback that we need. That we are in authentic connections, that is our relationships, and that there is meaning in what we are doing, purposeful existence, and finally achievement, that we are accomplishing something. And these are needs of everyone, including the aging people who are as they age. So we want to discuss a little bit some of these in the context of well-being as we grow older. And so in that, the conversation we're having now is about interventions to promote positive aging, those elements we just looked at in our socio-emotional, on the socio-emotional front. What are some of the interventions? We'll just be speaking about a few, mainly mindfulness and gratitude, of course, which can also be done in the context of mindfulness and a few others. Okay. So mindfulness for emotional well-being is one of the high potential recommendations, one of the high potential interventions. And I like that many people speaking about mindfulness today like to remind us that it doesn't have to be very tedious, very lengthy. It is a habit that we can acquire, that we can cultivate, of being mindful of where we are, how we feel. Like even just as we sit or attend this conversation, how are you physically? How are you in terms of how does your body feel? Are you, in a disposition of exhaustion, or are you in a disposition of really a lot of ease and comfort? Do you have aches and pains, and what's that about? Just being aware and paying attention in the present moment. And as we grow older, that is more and more important, because it's how we cultivate wisdom, by living and savoring the moments more deeply. Reviewing, as someone said earlier, reviewing our achievements in a mindful way, looking back at what we really appreciate, journaling, all sorts of practices that can help us, they will serve our positive emotions. They will serve our sense of purpose. They will create the opportunity to see how much more we can engage with others, or how much more our engagement with others is actually producing beautiful results, even when we might perhaps be thinking, what the noise of the television or the noise of the world of today is telling us, that old people are not so useful. It's actually not true, even in our own personal lives. By being mindful, that can become something that, enables us to be in better emotional space. So it has benefits for, as I said, for positive emotions, which are really critical, and we'll be speaking a little bit more about that shortly, because they buffer you from stress. Stress comes anyway, but you need something that enables you to kind of handle it, which this can be. They enable us to develop resilience and also self-compassion, the ability really to understand ourselves and not to be so hard on ourselves, to welcome our reality, and refocus our purpose. So it can be very, very helpful for our emotional well-being. As I said before, gratitude exercises and practices, which are deep. I know we have habits of saying thank you, but really, again, savoring and really getting into the genuine level of our being. What are we grateful about? I couldn't help. I was watching today, and I happened to watch by chance the funeral of the young man that was killed by the police recently. And when the father was speaking, the first thing he said was gratitude for being alive today. And then towards the end of his own conversation, he said the same thing. And I'm just thinking, it's just I could not fathom that, but he really meant it, and in front of him was the body of his young son. So what do we feel really grateful about? And he saw it as a privilege to be alive. I mean, for whatever it means, and for the paradox that it is that he's alive and his son is not, in such a meaningless way. But even in the worst sorts of situations, there is really something to be grateful about. That family being heartbroken, have something to be grateful about. Daily life itself, the foundation, the daily life today, not just the past, because we don't want our old people to be stuck only thinking about the beautiful past. But the very day to day gives us some stuff to be grateful for. Okay. Other things like volunteering, and these ones are antidotes to a sense of becoming irrelevant. When we are able to reconnect with beautiful things that are going on in our life today and in some of our shared life with others, we realize, we are not irrelevant. We have a perspective on things that sometimes others don't have, and yet it's very enriching. Engaging with others helps us out of loneliness. Volunteering, and we shall say a little bit more about volunteering shortly, which is an expression of altruism. It helps us to challenge the sense of once we are no longer holding those social positions that we used to hold, where we had cheo China fulani, where we had a position, where we had status. We are no longer relevant, or we are no longer so, who are we now? People have sometimes so identified with positions that they held that they can hardly find themselves. And sometimes this can be an opportunity to rediscover, your true self. As the lady in the video was saying, for some people, their career does not give them a chance to really do what they really would love to be doing. But as we have retired, or as we are retired from those positions, we can do something we really want to do, and we can really rediscover ourselves. And I want to say a few more things about resilience, cultivating resilience, because resilience, I know some people don't like the word resilience because it sounds like it's giving permission to others to make life difficult so that we can bounce back and we show that we are strong. That's not really what it's about. But the reality is that difficulties do come. As we age, there are struggles, mobility, health, grief. Yeah, there are lots of losses. Yeah, and there are also some gains. How do we recover? How do we keep finding sense? This is what resilience is about. To maintain a certain capacity of well-being. Yeah, maintain some sense of meaning for their lives. Yeah. And it's not just old people that need that. Sometimes grief hits anyone, or sadness, or illness, or trauma of one kind or another. How do we rebound? Yeah. What is it that enables us to be in a position to actually recover and recreate meaning? Yeah. So I have a simple framework. I don't know whether it will be helpful to you for thinking about things to do to keep resilience alive, especially for older people, but for everyone. And I've called it the safe framework for resilience. One would be strength-based identity, that we identify more with our strengths and find our strengths and really work with our strengths most of our life. We find that those strengths become useful all the time, even in times when we actually didn't expect. Active coping and meaning making in the midst of situations, learning the skills of actually coping and learning the skills of meaning making, learning the skills of flexible thinking and flexible emotional regulation. Yeah. So things don't have to be just the way we wanted them to be, but we are able to actually navigate a different path and still come, we have the flexibility to do that. And I think older people actually can do that more than younger people. And again, being in engaged relationships. Let's just say a few words more about each of these. Why do we need to live a strength-based, to live within a strength-based identity? Older adults, hear a lot of negative stereotypes in our culture today, yeah, that they can very easily reduce their sense of worth, their sense of well-being, yeah. So we have to counter that actively, yeah. And one of the ways to do that, to recognize our strengths and to reinforce our self-image as, is to review the review of life. When we call it therapy, it can be, looking back on our life together with others and seeing how we have actually overcome many, many trials, and looking at some of the repertoire of talents and gifts and dispositions that enabled us to overcome what may have been a big challenge. That reinforces our sense that we are still that strong person. Yeah, and science has shown, studies have shown that strength-based reflection improves people's psychological well-being. Yeah, reviewing our strengths actually puts us in a better psychological space, and makes us more resilient. The second one is coping, active coping and meaning making. That I don't just say I will cope, but I actually build up my muscle for coping. Yeah. Yeah. For example, why do we need to do that? What's the rationale? The rationale for that is that resilient older adults can interpret adversity. Adversity is there, it comes, it finds all of us at one stage or another. But if we are older people, not only we'll be able to interpret it better for our own selves and for personal growth, but I think we can add there also that as older people, we like it or not, people look up to us. Even when we are frail and all, people look up to us, and we can I don't want to put on us that excessive burden of I am the model, so I have to be this, that, and the other. But if we are genuinely engaged as humans, the human journey enables us to actually become our best self. So we don't have to, we need just to engage with the reality that we are going through. And how do you do that? One of the ways would be just to writing, like to write or share with a group. We may not like writing, but we are more oral people, but sharing with a group. So we're not going to leave it just to chance. We're going to sit and talk with other people about life transitions, how we have coped with transitions. We talk often about grief debriefing groups and those kinds of things. But even after that, when we no longer need them, positive psychology would be saying, let's build up that reservoir of strengths or reservoir of skills that other people also can benefit from. So I think we need to build a culture of creating what it is that helps us cope. They become opportunities for growth and for something we can resort to when we have new challenges. And again, making meaning of situations, as you saw in the circle of the five pillars of well-being, of flourishing. Making meaning of the experiences we go through is one of the things that is an indicator or is very well correlated with psychological well-being, lower levels of depression, better mental health outcomes. How about flexible thinking? Why is it useful? Because it will support the rationale to support our thinking. Cognitive and emotional flexibility supports our ability to adapt. Because we usually need a good reason. We need good reasons. So if we become mindful of what we are going through, how we are going through it. When we do mindfulness exercises, we also do not just physical awareness of our body or our breathing, etc. Sometimes even looking at our thought patterns, just observing our thought patterns is a nice way of getting ourselves freed from them, because some of us actually caught in the same ways, patterns of thinking, and they may be even spiraling us down over and over. But if we observe our thought patterns and say, I keep thinking about that, that's, if we do mindfulness on our thoughts, just looking at them without judgment, it enables us to get free of them and become more available to think differently. Yeah, by observing them without being hostile to ourselves, without judging. The same with our emotions, of reviewing how we felt today, how we were feeling as we went through this event, what kind of spectrum of emotions we went through. It becomes easier to regulate our emotions, to become in charge of them. Again, doing these exercises with self-compassion, without judgment, but just becoming. It's like looking at myself with a sense of wonder. I become actually more. It's like you widen the bandwidth of thoughts, or the bandwidth of instead of being caught up in the same thing. So you kind of take charge a little more simply by just observing and becoming more aware. Okay. And they say again that mindfulness enhances emotional regulation. It reduces rumination, that way of repeating over and over the same things, especially looking over miserable things that happen to us and seeing them always in the same way. It can just release us and enable us to have a different kind of perspective. And it increases resilience in the elderly. That is what research is telling us. Finally, engagement. Engaged relationships. Being in community. Can be in community without being engaged. So we didn't mean to engage, but to engage meaningfully. It is okay. We have positive disassociation, if you like. We disconnect. We do less of socializing, or as sister was saying, gossip, chatting. But we are choosing how we invest the energy that we have, and that connectedness is very useful for keeping away emotional distress. Choosing deliberately to be connected positively with people, to be connected in a meaningful manner, rather than just to be available for every going thing. That gives us releases us from excesses of emotional distress, and it has been found to be a predictor of resilience in aging. People who are connected. Of course, if people who are not connected, when things happen, when they are too much alone, they lose it more easily. And when I say lose it, they may lose control of their emotional world, or they may really, disintegrate or, spiral into serious depression more easily. But when we are connected, we have networks that support us if we are connected meaningfully. So like we talked about intergenerational conversations or exercises of various kinds for the cognitive. So again, you can see you can make some activities that give you mileage on many fronts together. And this could be facilitating intergenerational programs. So people experience themselves as relevant, but they are also able to pass on some of the things, perspectives that younger generations may actually not have. Also volunteering enlarges your circles, we've been so busy that volunteering is almost becoming something that not too many people do, because our day-to-day lives have become filled with activity and a lot of self-reference. I think that's my personal view. But can we volunteer? We have time for volunteering, even when we are younger. But here, surely as older people, what are we volunteering for? Are we interested in, looking beyond ourselves? So that, of course, looking at just within ourselves or at ourselves is a good formula for sinking into very poor emotional and socio-emotional space. So looking out, not excessively, with wisdom, moderated, and in a meaningful engagement where we volunteer and give of our best to others. So older adults who have strong networks, meaningful networks, they have better cognitive outcomes, they have better emotional outcomes, because they are exercising muscles, if you like, brain muscles, awareness muscles in the right kinds of spaces. So feel free, of course, to interrogate this or comment on it. You don't need my permission to use the chat box. Please feel free to use it as you wish. I want to say a few things about the importance. Just to say a little, to underscore the importance of positive emotions for older people. Yeah, positive emotions. I feel sorry that actually for most of our lives, even when we are younger, positive emotion was downplayed. And actually, when I came across positive psychology, when I heard about positive emotions, I was a little bit almost suspicious. I'm thinking, what you feel doesn't matter. You just get on with it, because that's what we were kind of taught to do. But it does matter, and it energizes us, and it needs, and all pulls us down. So positive emotions are a key wellness mechanism. And we know now that we can actually work on emotions. We are not just victims of our emotions. We can actually put ourselves in better emotional space. It may be in the long run by working on habits, mindfulness, or observing what spirals us, etc. But positive emotions, as we said already, they buffer us from the effects of stress. And feeling well about what you're doing, feeling well, especially about yourself. Yeah, this is a big gain. It makes us more resourceful. We recover more quickly from, of course, some negative emotions. If we have a lot of positive emotions, but we become more resilient. So, and we are better able to self-regulate, emotional self-regulation, if we come into the habit of working on positive emotions. We begin to see the greater scope or rainbow of possibilities of ways, emotional responses to the realities of our lives as we grow older. As when we are very young, things are good or bad, and as we go on a little bit, maybe the spectrum grows a little bit more. As older people, more mature adults, as we go on, we find that we are able to accommodate even a bigger variety of experiences, emotional experiences, and to be able to read meaning and to be able to interrogate what is saying. And when we come to the spiritual conversations, this becomes also a resource. So these emotions are important. And as you know, in positive psychology, there is a scientist called Barbara Fredrickson, who talks about the broaden and build theory, which of positive emotions, where she talks about positive emotions, and we said it before, they broaden one's thought action repertoire. That is to say, remember, psychology is about thoughts, the cognitive dimension, the feeling, the emotional dimension, the affective dimension, and the behavioral dimension. But when we have got many positive emotions, we begin to have a broader sense, a broader scope for all three. Broader thoughts, broader actions, and it enables us to build personal resources for coping because of that broader scope. So the broaden and build theory. We are able to be more creative. We are able to see more perspectives. We are able to take more risks, calculated risks, no doubt. But yeah, so positive emotions are important, and taking care of ourselves and enabling ourselves to be in those kinds of spaces is important. So When you on the left side of your screen, you got some of the common challenges that older people face, like emotional and physical health going down, or social roles changing, and we wondering where are we going with this, or who are we anymore. A negative attitude towards changing that may be there in the society, and which we tend to internalize. We are afraid of death, or some people, some older people have said, it's like their children think like they died. They don't talk to them anymore as often as they died. That kind of thing, and the loneliness. And on the right side of your screen, what you've got is some positive psychology responses, a kind of summary of things that we can meet this or can help to alleviate these challenges. They are there, but mindfulness exercises, programs that encourage purpose, gratitude, building up humor, building up hope. There are programs and activities. Some of them even online you can find. Positive Psychology website also gives you quite a few for cultivating, for example, hope, so that that becomes something that you could work with some of your older people, and to the benefit not just of themselves but also to the younger people. Mindfulness and meaning-centered reflections on our strengths and the lot. Okay. So in passing, I want to say we want to thrive with purpose. We don't deny the difficulties. Yes, we acknowledge they are there, but we affirm that later life is a season of meaning, it's a season of growth, it's a season when we can make contribution. And that's why I want us now to talk. Unless there are some questions or comments, I'd like to speak a little bit more about altruism. Sister, anything coming up, or can we just keep going?
Yes, there is someone is asking, that is Sarah. Sarah is asking, how will we be able to reduce the negative emotions of the young adults in Kenya for their successful aging?
Interesting. Interesting.
Because we seem to be having a lot of negative emotions.
Yes, partly, of course, is getting ourselves into a sense of perspective. Yes, things are really bad, and it's very hard to kind of deny that. Nevertheless, when we work with people, rather not in huge groups, but in relational, meaningful conversations, hopefully we can help them find some good things going on and really learn to cultivate positive emotions. So, sister, I find that just to put it this way, I used to wonder why, for example, Jesus didn't just get on a table and heal everybody at once and let it all be over. And it seems like we have to be relational. It's part of the journey of life. We have to work with each other, and slowly we change culture by the actions that we do as individuals or in small groups or in our interactions. So I believe when you encounter them, you are able to help them discover their strengths, discover their ability their agency, their ability to make a difference, even in their home, if not in the bigger circle. To shift that energy to a positive space without denying that there are serious difficulties in the society. Partly the failure to acknowledge them, maybe, and the behavior like older people know the answers, which is not true. We are searching together. It's part of what puts them in very bad space, and we are kind of walking over them and not listening too much to them. But then I could go on, and I don't have all the answers. But there is a lot of, I don't think we can work on them in the larger in the bigger groups. They will influence each other as we work with them in the spaces in which we encounter them. That's my immediate response. Some others of you may have responses that you can also offer to Sister there in the chat box, or later when we open mics in this conversation. Okay, so I will keep moving. I want to have a little bit
let's
of
continue.
Yes, thank you, Sister. About altruism, which is a powerful contributor to well-being altruism and to meaning and to resilience and to those things that to energy, to flow, altruism really does a lot of good for people. Things like caregiving for someone you are able to, we have seen older people go to help another person who is older than themselves or about their own age, but less able to do stuff for themselves. Volunteering, going to be with them, mentoring younger people, reading for children or reading for people who have a visual impairment, just working with other people, stuff that we actually like to do. If we offer it, it also gives us back. It gives us back quite a bit. Now, research shows that older people who engage in those behaviors have higher levels of psychological well-being at large. And what is altruism? It is selfless concern for others, but accompanied by actions, not just concern, but actions to help. Like we are concerned about our young people. What are we able to do? We step forward and do something small with one young person in our purview. Doing something to alleviate the pain or to recognize the difficulty. And it may cost us to do stuff for other people, give our time, but we are not really looking for rewards. So that's what makes it altruistic. We are not doing it for what we can get out of it. We are doing it for the other, reaching out to the other. Our joy is to be able to be of help to the other person. The contradictory kind of peace that I'll be speaking about for the next few minutes is that it actually gives back to us. So we encourage it because it does give us back, but the main purpose is not what we get. The main purpose of the giver is not what I get in return. And you may not even be able to calculate. What comes back to you may not be what you are expecting, but certainly well-being would have been found to be there. Of course, it enhances purpose and meaning. We hope you would be engaged in altruistic activities that are meaningful to you. You wouldn't go and do something that you really don't care that much about. So if you are reading for children, perhaps you really want them to be connected with some of the stories, or you want to make sure that all of them get access to this. It matters to you, and that is why it enhances purpose. Need to stop that. Okay. So older people often report a greater sense of meaning when they are helping other people. Their life assumes. And so again, let's not protect our people from too much from our older people from engaging. If it's something that they can actually do, it may give them quite some meaning, quite some joy. Purpose-driven altruism promotes that eudaimonic well-being, that happiness that is not just about how good I feel, but a greater happiness that's about transforming the society, transforming someone else's life, a deeper sense of purpose. It can also alleviate a sense of loneliness, sense of redundancy that can accompany old age. So lives that are oriented towards others are seen to correlate in scientific research with greater well-being than those lives that are solely about personal achievement or personal comfort or, what I deserve. I'm entitled to this and the other. I've worked hard long enough in my life. It's about time. many of those people, if they're not giving a bit more of themselves to others, find, yeah, you may be entitled, but then you actually are less happy, right? It also predicts better physical and cognitive health. And I hope that should really encourage us, because we are terrified of poor health, physical, and especially cognitive health. But it is associated with lower mortality rates, because we are out there, we are having that sense of meaning, less depression, better physical function. We have to go. If you have to move to help others, often we have to. It lifts us up. And older adults who volunteer have less disability, reduced disability. Why? Because you find yourself moving, you find yourself exercising muscles you might actually not have bothered to exercise if it were just about your own concerns only. But now you are reaching out, you're going to a shop to buy stuff that you didn't actually need because someone else needs that stuff. And that enables you to keep alive your mathematical skills, your, to interest in the world, interest in the market, stuff that you can do. It reduces disability. And many people who are they are volunteering or doing altruistic activities, they report feeling in better health. They report, we are not talking about what the doctor found in the laboratory, etc., but their own sense of their health, which is important. They report being in better health. Of course, it has cognitive benefits. Why? Because we are engaging with others, because we are having to solve other people's problems. So it puts into gear the executive part of the brain. We have to think with others. It supports our memory. So it needs to be genuine, but it's also good for us. Neuroscientists say that they talk of a phenomenon called helpers high. Neuroscientists are people who work or study the brain, and nowadays the studies are very advanced. They're able to kind of observe the brain as things go on, or even after people have been engaged in something. And what do they find? That altruistic behavior activates parts of the brain where you feel good. Those feel good parts of the brain. We feel it triggers dopamine and oxytocin, which are hormones that help lift our mood. They reduce stress. This is observed in laboratories. It is not, it's just like you might observe under a microscope, so to speak. It's observed that people just have this positive experience, social bonding, increasing a sense of trust, and it's coming out of reaching out to the needs of another person within our ability, without feeling guilty. If it's coming from a space of guilt, then it's not going to be very good for you, because it'll spiral into other. But just reaching out from the joy of your heart, from the joy of your experience, and things that you love to do, or things that move your heart. And they say even little activities, not necessarily big things, like helping a neighbor or a stranger, increase our being. They produce that help us high. They produce that sense of happiness within us. It rebuilds resilience because of that sense of connection, which we have talked about at great length today. When people define themselves in terms of how they are related to others and to helping others, it is also that's what they're calling narrative identity research. Generative stories, where people define themselves through acts of giving, they are associated with higher well-being. Yeah, the engagement, and actually you see quite a lot of that with older people. Unfortunately, more online than we do, because we are not meeting each other as much as we should. But nevertheless, and finally, at cross-culturally, from especially people from Africa, people from Asia, people from those cultures that are more about taking care of older people, collectivist cultures. They often emphasize altruism from elders. They make an elder is seen to be a person who not only shares wisdom, but also supports others, gives guidance, and then people can look up to that person and make sense of their lives. They become moral agents and community anchors, reinforcing both individual and collective well-being. Yeah? So in the cultures of the South, or more indigenous cultures, this is one of the ways in which when we talked about the elders being someone we look up to, it is the altruistic person who is recognized as that. You could be very, very wise, and wisdom is an important value. But if altruism is lacking, people may not even notice that wisdom. It's the ability to reach out to others in a self-giving, without seeking rewards, that enables people, softens the ground around, that enables people then to meet that wisdom that you are offering, yeah? That you are a person for others. It's very central to what it is to be meaningful person in our cultures. So what are the practical implications of this? What can we do to support seniors' altruism? Because some of us are supporting older people. CASAK is all about older people. Maybe more programs you will do in the future are about how do we support older people. Some of us are older people, and so how do we do to support altruism for seniors? I think our communities, religious communities and other communities, can promote and support structured volunteer opportunities. Yeah? And I don't know what exactly that may mean, but for your community, it may mean one thing or another. I observed the tendency in society nowadays for all of us to go off into private spaces, disappear. We don't want to be in public spaces. We have all that we need within the comfort of our own home. And then in the homes, we have everything we need within the comfort of our own bedroom. We don't even need to come to the common room. Everybody has, that's we are losing so much ground for being together and for building together. What can we do to recreate? Somebody needs to switch off their mic. I don't know who that is. Jane? Okay, that's fine. Okay. So we need to support our older people when they want to do volunteer activities. Make sure there is a support mechanism for them to do that. That is not too controlling, but that is enabling. Yeah, that's what we mean by that first idea there. Then intergenerational programs that facilitate meaning making. Yeah. We talked about this in the context also of the cognitive well-being, but programs where older people can plug in without necessarily being the one responsible for it. That within the programs, and I think religious are very good at doing this. I think they are, and I've seen some of that, and we can do more of it. That you've got younger people are in charge, etc., but where the older people can plug in and give a service of a certain kind, they are able to kind of come in without the burden of everything falling to them. So possibly working with another person so that if it's a very critical service they're happy to give, it doesn't fall apart if they are not able to be there, and it doesn't become too stressful. But we facilitate their ability to stay engaged and to reach out and to meet people in order to know their needs. You cannot respond to needs that you don't know anything about. So disconnection does not facilitate altruism. So giving them avenues or keeping the avenues open for ourselves who are older, as much as possible, keeping interested in the society in which is our own tool. Recognizing informal altruism as sources of well-being, like caregiving. Some of us are in spiritual guidance. Some of us are, in simple counseling. I remember with a lot of appreciation a program that was created in Zimbabwe a few years ago, which was called the Friendship Bench. And it was a program where older women, mainly women, I don't know why not men, maybe there were men as well, I need to check that detail. But this psychiatrist trained older people to be able to listen, to become like a fast port of recourse when people have mental distress. Mindful that many villages have no counselors, have no psychiatrists. Psychiatrists are very few in our societies. And the mental health needs are so big. They continue to get bigger, it seems. But very simple training for grandmothers. He calls them grandmothers. And these grandmothers would be taught listening skills or how to respond without giving too much advice. But, so they would have the wisdom of their own life, a little bit of skills, and they are able to just be available. And people know that grandmother so and so is a counselor, and she can listen, and she will not talk about your story. And when that word goes around, they become such a resource for the community. And it was quite a well appreciated program that spread from Zimbabwe to Malawi. I don't know which other country it got into. Again, it's something that shouldn't take too much stress to the older people, but if people feel able to give those kinds of services, we facilitate them, enable them, get them a little bit of skill, and spread the culture of service and the culture of older people being engaged. And then when we design interventions for our older people, we also give them a chance to reach out, to be able really to be on the giving end, not just, absorbing, but giving. And sometimes it is like we are doing here, it's very simple, but we are sharing experiences. We are sharing experiences that become part of what we mainstream that can be useful for our societies. So again, when you do those programs to take good care of what comes from them, give them a chance to give it, and then take good care of it as some part of the heritage that is not just theirs, but ours as communities. Okay. So as we conclude, I want to say that, positive aging is about living. It's not just about existing, it's about living. It's about learning, ongoing learning, and the ability to learn, and to learn, even not learning book learning, but learning and taking really good care of what we are learning by reviewing, by sharing with others, by appreciating that there's so much to contribute, and cultivating a growth mindset, cultivating a positive attitude without ignoring the challenges or pretending that they're not there, but actually finding a handle on how to tackle them using our strengths. Okay. Sister, I think we are at the end. Sister?
Yes,
We are at
I'm
the end
there.
of it. Yes.
Yes.
So I would
Okay.
like to invite us to see whether, as we shift from not just accepting what the society is giving us as the narratives of aging, decline, becoming irrelevant, but shifting and becoming engaged and embracing the process, including the challenges. As we do that, what are you taking home from our conversations today? What comments, what experience do you want to share? The ball is on your court.
Thank you. There's a question before. There's a question. Someone asked a question on YouTube.
Yeah.
Asking what is the best way to change the mindset of the youth to see life positively in the middle of bitterness. Mindset. Remember, we are talking of a mindset. What is the best way to change the mindset of the youth to see life positively in the middle of bitterness?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I first of all is to engage with them, to
Yeah.
engage, to listen to them, to make them realize that they are worth listening to on personal level, working with them, and then slowly to be able to indicate difference. Its engagement is critical, and the engagement. I think we have to engage with them.
Yes.
Have programs where they have a chance to be heard. I have come to appreciate, for example, that for a young person to graduate and then be 3, 4, 5 years without work, it's actually traumatic. So people have trauma coming from stuff that perhaps we may relativize, or we think it's because there are so many people in that situation, it's kind of normal. It's never kind of normal for anybody. So just to be able to give people, hold space for them to speak their story. So because healing needs to happen, the bitterness is not just something they picked up on the way. It's something that has been built on accumulation of very many negative experiences. I was speaking with a lady from Somalia the other day or last year or so, and we were looking at this region of Africa, the Horn of Africa, and when you look between war and hunger and unemployment, and it's a trauma endemic space. There is so much trauma. And no amount of counseling is going to be able to reach on the amounts of trauma we have in our space here. What we need is to become a society that can heal itself, can heal its members. And healing, first of all, comes from acceptance, from honoring each other. The young people need to be honored. We are very conscious where we want to take them. That's okay. But more importantly is to be able to appreciate where they are, to be able to feel with them, and then to give them hope that things can actually be different. You can't move somebody you did not feel their pain with them. So, it's going to be hard. We came into this space through a whole lot of activities, a whole lot of possibly faulty moves. It's not going to be done overnight. But no single step you take is wasted. Every time you take care of one young person, every time you are able to create for them a space for hope, you are moving the whole ship 1 inch, 1 degree in the right direction. So let's give each other courage. That's my take. That's my take. Because people are hurting quite a lot. There's a lot of pain going around, and we need to create safe spaces. I also say that safe space is not something that I would say is rampant in our society. We have come to a culture, to become a culture of competition, a culture of destroying each other. And this is what they've grown up in, very, very unsafe spaces. So, my friends, I think we all need to learn how to create safe space. Even in our institutions, people don't feel safe. We ourselves. So you can imagine younger people, what it's like for them, because they have less security. Sometimes when you're older, you know, even if you don't get that, you can. But for them, everything is very delicate and difficult. So I think we need to grow a culture of safe spaces, caring for one another, realizing that I'm not going anywhere to shine if I'm leaving you in wounds, or I get what I get at the cost of your peace. So we need a communal mind shift, let alone a young people's mind shift. My take, sorry, it's a long answer, sister, and perhaps not terribly helpful, but I hope we can, see what we can do individually and then share. I'm also interested, what do you think we can do? Let me hear from you as well. Sister, yes, another comment. I'd like
Another comment is, how can we support older adults to get engaged, especially when they can, but they decline? And another one says, what are positive cultural resources that could be integrated to promote positive aging for women in virtual setting?
interesting questions.
Yes. The first one is they're asking just, well, we have older adults who are declining, but you may want to engage an older adult who is declining, but you don't know her state of health. She may be declining and you don't know her status. Maybe she's declining not on her own will. Maybe she has some dementia that's making her to decline, not understanding what you want her to do. And remember, there are some older adults who were stubborn from childhood and they have grown into their stubbornness. And the older age is catching up with them in their stubbornness. So the mindset of the stubbornness is still in that person.
Yes. Yeah. It's, I mean, as you said, there's continuity. There's continuity of good things. There's also continuity of not so good things. Huh?
Yes.
Such is life, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. I am not going to purport to be able to answer such a question. I think normally we are able to respond with the genius of our sense of relationship on a case by case basis.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. Sometimes somebody may have dementia. We want them to live a very full life, but there's only so much they can engage with, and not everything is critical or crucial. So we are judging what must they have. For example, if they are not managing to take their meals, then that's not something we can dialogue about or play games about. Then we need to have their meal. So we may have to have that confrontation. But if they're forgetting something that is not of critical, for example, I imagine maybe they forget to come for mass or they forget to do their spiritual duties, etc. It's not the end of the world. Maybe we help them another way, or we also learn how they are journeying with the Lord in ways that we don't know, simply by listening to them and being part of their story. I think we have a good sense of judgment ourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
By all
That is
means,
true.
give them a chance to exercise their agency as much as they can. And then when you decide that their agency they're not able to do that, then we decide how much we can really intervene, how much it's necessary to intervene, of course, to their safety, to their comfort, and to the comfort of those around them or safety of those around them. But it's we have good judgment. Trust yourselves.
Yes. Then the other one was about the positive cultural resources that could be integrated to promote positive aging for women in the partial setting.
In our patriarchal settings, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, again, I don't know whether it depends on the particular problem we may be facing. Yeah, or problem we may be facing, or particular society, as you say, sister. Because I think there's always, I mean, and this is not even cultural. The fact of motherhood, which is given to all women, whether or not they have biological children, is something that people can cherish, people can work with for the rest of their life. And as you grow older, grandmotherhood, some of you have nieces and nephews and whom you are supporting in terms of you are their emotional support systems, or you are helping them to remember what is dear in their lives from a feminine perspective. Just being a woman gives you the feminine perspective of being able to help people from the resources of your femininity. So the point is not to doubt ourselves too much as women, and as we encounter. I recently had an experience I'm sure many of you would have seen, for example, some of these feminine interpretations of the Bible, okay, which can be very interesting. And we didn't give ourselves the permission, for example, to look at a story from our perspective, because we thought somebody knows the answer, I don't. If somebody has the answer, I don't need to bring my own thoughts. But as we grow older now, we become aware that, our perspectives are also valid. They are a part of the action of the Spirit, and we can share. So some very, very interesting stories have come through when we look at, just connecting with our reality. There was a slide there that talked about being real, being with ourselves in our concrete reality. That is where the wisdom lies, and the good judgment. And then it's very easy, sorry to say this, but I think it is quite easy to discern what is helpful from the fruits, as we were saying. If our sharing is helping us to build a community where people are becoming more confident, more peaceful, more resourceful, then we know we are on good track. Yeah? We don't need the approval of someone who has a position somewhere. So I think we need to trust the authority of our own experience, as well as the authority of judging when something is bringing good results and when it is not, right? I hope that that's making some kind of sense. So, and I don't know whether it's an adequate answer. But my sense is, and this is coming basically from my Christian perspective, that God is with us. God is with us, and we have seen it in the journey of our life. So, without over spiritualizing stuff, let us be able to, to trust our judgment, consult with people with trust, and create new knowledge and new resources for people to turn to. Because we have come through to a point, we have come for many years in spaces and cultures of being put on the back burner and accepting to be on the back burner, like we are always strangers to the beauty of life, to modern life, to Christian life. Someone else is going to, let's bring in our 2 cents worth and make this banquet something we can share. Thank you.
That is nice, Beatrice. Just to add on that, we've talked so much about altruism. Remember, altruism is cultivated from, it's a resourceful thing. That behavior is very resourceful. So if we look at altruism and we cultivate it from, it can build by nature, as you said, by nature, women are supposed to be mothers by nature. So, as they are mothers by nature, when they cultivate this behavior, it's a very good thing that can bring it into our setting. It can really be very, very helpful, because you can imagine, like in the village, you are just in that house, you don't have anything, but then you send a child to the house of so and so. Please go and tell her I am not well. That woman will come even with a cup of porridge, because the child has gone there to say Mama is not well and she has not woken up. That kind of feeling. So it is something that we can cultivate from the youth as we grow up. Then you find we are building something good for our society. And it's, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other contribution? I've not seen any other contribution in that.
Okay. Yes, I'm interested in whether, I don't know whether they have answered the question about what you are likely to remember from our conversation today in 2 weeks' time.
I expected something to come up. I've not seen.
Okay.
I rose up my hand and you've not seen me.
Oh, Regina.
Yes.
Thank you. I've seen your hand, Regina, and I've seen the hand of somebody. Please go ahead, Sister Regina.
I had 2 responses, one for the youth.
Yes.
And also one for how to I don't know how to there's somebody who mentioned something
The
about
resources.
being stubborn even when you are young and you have grown old with that. Let me highlight something. I think even in the convents, there are some things we can do to each other that will change people's lives. And not because they want to change, but they want to cope with the situation. So I think that is something we need to look at and, critically. And as we even evaluate each individual, we cannot put them in a blanket and say, these are the very stubborn ones. Now they are ending with their stubbornness. That was just a comment. Then on the youth, I was just contemplating the kind of language we also use on our youth, especially when we want to help them. And sometimes we want them to know we have been there, so you are not the first. And I want to agree, yes, we have been there, but we were there at our own time and space and circumstances. They are here now in their own space and at different circumstances, of which if we don't look at and put into consideration as we want to help them change their attitude, we can really work, tirelessly, but with no results. So for me, I'm like, if we are able to enter through their point of view, and then we are able to help them out of where they are from our own understanding, considering the times and circumstances, I think we can be able to help them better. I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Regina. Why did you have your hand up? You are raising your hand up. Why did you? Thank you, Regina, for that. Is that Pauline or who is that?
Sister Pauline?
Yes. Go ahead.
You're still muted, sister.
Mine is to appreciate the talk. It was quite good, quite informative. It has been quite well. In fact, mine is just appreciation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jen, you wanted to say something? Jen, you wanted to say something? Okay, thank you so much.
Sister, I want to, again, perhaps I am seeing a few take-homes coming in. I want to underscore what Sister Regina said about the young people. Frequently, we have come, you see, we cannot approach, sometimes when we talk about our cultures, we seem to kind of glorify them as if they have nothing to be corrected. And there is some stuff to be corrected. And part of it is that kind of belief that we have had that young people are there, they should listen, and we should tell them what to do. We talked today about the agency of the older person. We also have to safeguard the agency of younger people. But the way to do that, since they're coming to us, is to, as you say, listen to them, validate, but also present them our views as our views. Very often, you yourselves, I think it's when you are talking about your belief or what you want to do that you realize what's not so right about it, or where it is faulty thinking. Someone else listening to you or posing to you one or two questions, they are seeking to understand, but it makes you interrogate your own experience more deeply. Enable them to be critical thinkers, because unfortunately, even our education systems have not promoted critical thinking. They have tended to promote conformity, and the young people are saying everything we conform with does not work. So you are lying to us. Say, okay, so what would you like to propose on this matter? And we walk with them, knowing that it's their journey and it's their choices that are going to be leading the experience, but ourselves as a kind of mirror or a kind of reflection that enables them to refine more deeply their reasons. If we put ourselves as right, I know you don't, it doesn't go far. If I am older, I am wiser than you, so you should listen. you will not get very far and you'll not be able to help them. So it's like a tough love to listen to them, to interrogate, and not to have necessarily answers, but to be willing to listen and ask them questions. And as we ask them questions genuinely from our own experience, it helps them to clarify more what really is true and what is not. Often, sometimes stuff they have is not actually going to help them. And they slowly begin also helping them to review. Everybody has a length of life. When students come to me in first year in the university, they are coming from school systems where they've had to learn stuff and feed it back. They think I should tell them things. And though I'm telling them some things, I'm also telling them, you have a 20-year experience, 19 years, it's not zero. Review your experience. What helped you? What brought you joy? This again is a positive emotions dimension. What is it that brought you joy and hope and energized you to do the good thing? Was it this kind of bitterness? When you had bitterness like this and acted out of it, find a real concrete experience. What did it do for you? What results did it bring? Do you like the results? So again, to help them work with what God has given them in their family, in their own life stories, in order to find the answers that are authentic to themselves. I hope that helps.
Yeah, there's someone is talking about take home, our ability to create safe spaces, allowing those around us to fully express themselves, and fully become critical for collective well-being. That was good. Then very informative, timely, and well put presentation. Thank you very much, Daktari. Then someone says, in our community congregations, urgently we need to plant the seed among the young one that will mature when the young reach my age. That is mentor and be a living example, avail information that will enrich them for future, share what I have heard and learned today with the community. Thank you very much. That is Christine. I think we are doing well.
There's a comment there by Charles Jesusa Malewo. Sister, you could read that one. It came in at 16:57. It's a bit earlier.
Charles Malewa. It's Charles.
Okay, let me see. Okay, can I read it for you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. It's a call as research tells us, as we grow, there's time and seasons to find purpose, potentials develop, and fulfill and see meaning in life. When someone is late old, then the matter is not to chase goals, it's just to reflect on all life. So as Carl Rogers' term self-actualization says, my concern is very important your concern is to build during early age towards other phase of life, so that when we become older, then it will be easier to cultivate resilience, altruism, forgiveness, and other behavior related. Okay, so from Tanzania. Thank you very much, Charles. Yeah, it's interesting what you say. Yeah, that yes, we have invested a certain amount as we grow. Yet, the journey of life is also unlearning. Sometimes some of what we have learned, we have to unlearn, and it's very difficult when we are older. It's a little bit like sometimes we were leaning our ladder on the wrong wall, though we were climbing very fast. We're doing all we could. We find we are leaning against the wrong. That can happen. It's still not wasted in the wisdom of the way we are made. We still have some resources that we have garnered, but sometimes we have to revise what we knew, and it's like we are almost starting. And I think that's what Erickson means when he says there seems to be a ninth stage. That is to say, even when we did not, even when we didn't invest, or what we invested doesn't seem useful, we are still able to take meaning out of life. It is not the end. It's not. It's never lost. Yeah. So I hope that makes some sense. What you are saying is valid, and the contrary is also useful to see the other side of things, because life is about learning and relearning and unlearning, and as we go forward. And sometimes some things we thought were very useful when we were in our 30s or 40s, now we find in our 50s that is no longer the most important thing, though we worked so hard, and there's a shift. So that's okay.
Thank you. Jen is appreciating. Daktari, thank you for sharing great insights, truly invaluable. That was good. Thank you, Jen. That was lovely.
Thank you. I thank you for the opportunity to share with you all. And as I think we said last week, I'm also a psychologist, and that's my contact in case it's on the screen, I think. Is it still? Yes, we are still sharing. That's my email. I work in Tangaza, and that's also my personal email. We may be able to meet in other settings, but I want to thank you for the privilege. And I believe we meet again in 2 weeks to do the last session of this cycle. It's okay?
We are going to meet after 2 weeks. That is, we shall have it the same time. After 2 weeks, we shall have it on 16th. So please make sure on 16th you are not missing this. You should be seated, and that will be our fourth webinar, the fourth series that we have put across. I'm looking forward to seeing you and hear comments on 16th. Thank you, and God bless each one of you. Thank you, Daktari, for the great day. It was lively.
We shall send you the notes through CASAK. Thank you.
Thank you. We shall appreciate. Thank you.